Hey folks, welcome to Thinking Theology. I'm Don. I've got a video that's just food for thought because for the decades that I've pondered this, like if I'm praying for something and someone else is praying for the opposite, how does that work in prayer land? How does God or angels or whoever answers prayers, if they do, if they're paying attention to each one, then how would that work? Like, what are the relevant factors? Like, let's say God is paying attention to every single prayer offered every second of the day worldwide. How do competing prayers work? So, a farmer, there's not enough rain for 3 weeks, and he's praying for rain, but you've got a bride getting married this coming weekend, and she doesn't want it to rain, and they're both praying for good weather. But the farmer's definition of good weather is very different than the bride's definition of good weather. So those prayers go up. What happens up there in the heavenly realm? Like, how would God decide which one's most important? And of course, that gets into the, some people say, well, of course, atheists say there is no God, so it's a dumb question. But this is all conditional. It's positing certain things. Thinking theology has to do with how arguments are constructed. And arguments are constructed on basic premises. So you can take any premise if you're a thinking person and work with it. Doesn't mean you believe in it, but you can look at the structure of the argument. Okay, but so in theological circles, theology is about faith, believing in, we refer to it faith communities, whether Jewish, Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, anything, that you believe there's a higher power, and that some religions think that the higher power pays more attention to things going on down here on earth in people's lives, and they intervene, and God intervenes in those lives. So, how would that decision get made? Some people will say that it depends on the level of faith of the person praying. So whoever believes more in the result would be more likely to tip the scales in their favor. Like without faith, it's impossible to please God. You read in the New Testament. So some people would rely on that, well, if it rains, clearly the farmer had more faith. Or if it doesn't rain, clearly the bride had more faith. Others will say, God's not paying as much attention to that. He'll hear the prayers, but then he'll look at the utilitarian or utility of the prayer. So who's going to benefit more from one of those prayers being answered? Will it be the farmer? If it rains, his crops will pick up. Or the bride shall have a lifetime of good memories if it doesn't rain. So does God look at that? And then you got, what if neither prays? What if neither the bride nor what if nobody's praying about the weather this weekend? Does God just say, oh, nobody cares about the weather, therefore I don't either? That brings in another whole host of questions where, in a sense, are we controlling God? Are we controlling what God pays attention to? Do we have to pray for things to happen or not? And that's why I said this is one of those food for thought videos, because who knows? Some folks will say, I know because I read this verse and this verse tells me God does the weather and God doesn't do the weather, whatever. But I simply say we really don't know. Who can know the mind of God? Who could? I don't know. I do believe there's a God. I do believe there's a universal creator. But honestly, I've got no idea how something like this works. So there you go. Leave your thoughts. If you have an idea for a video, maybe I'll get to that one too, because these are a lot of fun to contemplate. That's why I named the channel Thinking Theology. It doesn't mean you believe it. It means you're just thinking it and pondering the arguments and the rationale behind them or the lack thereof. There are many theological positions that make no sense to me, but anyway, this one was fun. Okay, folks, have a great day. I'll see you on another video and keep thinking theology.